To finish up these turnarounds occurring in measures 11 and 12, let's do a quick review. We've talked about how the basic thing was a 1, 6, 2, 5. Then you had your flat 5 subs. The 2 chord can be a minor. And so that's basically what's going on here. Now, example 26 and 27, I've already talked about them. I want to review these. You have the 1. Then we hit a flat 3 dominant, the C7. Then we hit a flat 6 dominant, the F7, and you can either go to the 5-7, that's what example 26 is, or in example 27 you can go to the B flat 7. Just know those options, okay? Now the next example we're going to play actually has a jam track, and it's the closure of this whole thing. We have a progression with a lot of chords, a lot of things applied to it. Let's give it a listen. This is example 28. Here's where you have some changes. Measure 7 is a 3 minor, measure 8 is a 6 dominant, measure 9 is a 2 minor, and then measure 10 is the 5 dominant. Let's go through and play the chords. A7, D7, D sharp diminished, A7, E minor 7, E flat 7, D7, now G7, C sharp minor 7, F sharp 7, B minor 7, E7, A7, F sharp 7, B7, B flat 7. A lot of cool chords you can play in there. I mean, time doesn't permit me to show you every option. That's example 28. Notice what we're doing there. We're setting up these 2-5 moves, and I'll explain it. We're on measures 7 and 8. Now, normally that's all a 1 chord right there, but what we're doing is targeting measure 9. Measure 9, we have our 2 chord. Really, in essence, this is all this back cycling business. You have to kind of look backwards. Let's look at measure 11 of example 28. That would be a 1 chord. You'd start off on your A7. Okay? The 5 of it is E7, right? You precede that with a 2 chord, but the 5 of that 2 would be the 6, the F sharp 7, so you precede that with a 2 chord. So you see how you're basically going down in a 5th interval each time. You're back cycling, going counterclockwise around a circle of 5ths. That's how all these progressions are arrived at for the most part. The next example, example 29, we introduce that flat 6 dominant chord again, but instead of sticking it in over there on the beginning of measure 12, you're simply putting it in measure 10, approaching the 5 chord. I'm just going to start from measure 5, where you go like, no big thing there. I don't even need to give an example of that. You can just play that straight down. Now the final example, example 30, it's the first time that we've included a 7 sus4. Now in the unaltered dominants, if you look at your chart, unaltered dominants mean they're coming out of the Mixolydian mode. You have a 7, 7 with added 6, the 9th chord, and the 13th chord. But all 4 of those can also have the 3rd replaced with the 4th. That would give you 7 sus4, 7 6 sus4, a 9 sus4, and the 13 sus4. What that does, it sets you over in that sus4 side of the Mixolydian mode. We haven't had that introduced at any point here, and I thought about this when I threw this lesson together. Some modern kind of blues progressions would perhaps do something like this. You hear that sound where we're going from the sus4 side over? That's what's taking place. Now, I've just included it as measure 12 on a dominant blues. So again, let's take it from measure 9. You're on your 5, down to the 4, 1, and then that's just an E, 9 sus4, slang term E11, D over E. It's a great way to keep the tonic, the A note, up on top of your chord, no matter where you're going. So if you use that on the 5 chord, make sure everybody in the band knows you're going to use it. Isn't the kind of thing you can't just play a sus4 opposite someone else playing the 3rd. That's just not the sound you want to go for. I don't think this is what you're after at this point. That's another whole lesson. But, you know, I've just scratched the surface, basically. I've shown you some standard, typical moves, taking a 12-bar blues, measure by measure, looking at some of your options. To this point, we have played everything in the key of A. Your ears are probably just tired as can be of the key of A, and they were all the same tempo. And that's where you need to stretch this out and flesh it out in other keys. But in the beginning of the lesson, I explained that you have, as a guitarist, 2 general approaches. That in which the root, the 1 chord, is on the 6th string root, and then when the root's on the 5th string root. What I'm going to do for the rest of this lesson is go through some of these progressions, just pick and choose a few of them, and show you how they would reside on the neck where the 1 chord is a 5th string root.